Hey guys, welcome to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate. I'm your host, Dean Harris, and as always, I'm with Douglas Skipworth. How are you?
Hey man, doing great.
We're bringing you this podcast to give you the boots on the ground knowledge, guys, to be a successful and experienced real estate investor here in Memphis. Please like and subscribe to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate on our YouTube channel, Spotify, Facebook page, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Show sponsors are listed on the screen below. It's CrestCore Property Management, Corlin Financial, Triumph Construction. We've got Griffin, Clift, Everton, Mashmeyer, and Local Title. Happy to have those guys. We couldn't do this show without them. I help buyers and sellers every day here in Memphis. So if you've got any questions about buying or selling anything here, investment property, regular residential, we've got a team that can help you. Dean at CrestCore.com. So I'm happy to help you with that. Jumping right into today's podcast, man, we had a great show last week on our Q1 of 24 market update.
Yep.
So if you haven't caught that one, you can go back on the YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast and listen to that Q1 market update. Really exciting news coming from that.
Yeah, good morning.
So excited. Today, we're going to talk about can you retire early? I love the idea of retiring early. I would think that everyone that's listening to this podcast right now is looking to retire early. That's what we're doing. We want some passive income. There's no such thing. And we want that mailbox money. There's no such thing.
Yeah.
So we're all looking for the same thing, and that's to maybe have these houses and our long-term rentals pay us, keep us out of the workforce later on in life. So the number one thing in my mind when you and I were talking about this and getting this down was, about retiring early is to start now. Yeah. If you haven't started and you're thinking about retiring early, the biggest kicker in this is to start. And I'll explain why, and then you can feel free to interrupt anytime.
I like it.
There's a pocket of investors here. And let's just call them, there's a million of them all over the country, right? Maybe there you go. Huge pocket. And then we have this other long runway here where there's active investors, right? They're buying and selling and holding and flipping and whatever else those investors are doing, right? But it's almost like trying to get into a widespread panic concert at the last second, right? You clog everything up here at the back end, and then there's just one or two that trickle in. Yeah. Like I've been in those concert lines 100 times. They just trickle in, right? In with real estate investing, you don't have to wait in line. There is no certain amount of education that you have to have. There is no ticket that you got to buy to get in. There's no reason to let everything clog up here and build up, and then we're just going to spit 3 or 4 in at a time.
Yeah,
you need to start now. Jump that line and come on up here to whatever another analogy I can think of. What's the airplane that you just jumped through right now? What's it called? Where you don't have to wait in line at the
where
airport.
You can just do like a TSA pre-check or something like
clear,
that.
Go ahead and jump in line and come on in and go. Right? There's no. I just hear that all the time. Man, I don't know if I know enough. Like,
that's good.
Do you know what real estate is in general?
Yeah.
We can help you get through that. So the biggest thing for me is to start. Yeah. Get your foot off the curb, jump on in, and get going. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I got a lot to that. I think part of it is we're talking about financial freedom, right? And having the cash flow and assets to fulfill your purpose. Without getting too, trying to, it might sound a little pie in the sky or hypothetical,
but that's what this is.
But this is how you accomplish your goals and get that financial freedom or get the income, get the money to fund your life and what it is you want to do. It might be you want to stay at your job until you die.
Because you love it.
And you're fulfilling your calling and your purpose here on this earth. So that's great.
Yeah.
But it might be that you want to use those funds to do something else.
That's right.
And so what we're talking about is how we can help and how you can build that income and those assets you need so that you can do the thing you really want to do. And really the thing that's driving you.
There's so many guys that I know that want to do this and they're in line for the concert still.
And I think that in this episode is like, hey, come on, man. You and I know I'm working with family members who are 16 years old, who are 21 years old, who are in line and are now skipping that line and saying, all right, I want to do this. I want to buy and hold. I want to learn how to fix and flip. I want to invest in real estate so that I don't have to punch a clock if I want to.
That's right.
And even if I am punching a clock, I want to punch the clock that I want to punch, not that somebody is making me because I have so many obligations that I have to fulfill. So I just got to go take a job,
That's what I'm trying to do is fund to do something else.
To do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to what you have to do or what you feel like you have to do.
You breezed right over that, but I want to make sure I say something.
Good.
You mentioned a 16-year-old that's buying real estate.
Yes.
So if you're a 30-year-old or 25-year-old and you think, hey, I don't have enough knowledge, we have a young man that is part of our program that's buying houses.
Yeah.
So there's zero excuse. I'm trying to get my 18-year-old daughter on it. She's getting ready to go to college. I'm trying to get her to where we're making some offers. We talked this weekend on it. So
awesome.
It doesn't, if you find the trusted source too, like us or wherever, anyone really that knows what they're doing, like they can help you with some of that secondary knowledge and that, or second layer, third layer knowledge that you think that you need to go on. Yeah. Just get out of line and go.
And come to, I say come to Dean, come to the show sponsors. Yeah. There are people here who do this all day, every day, make a living out of it. Yep. So there is a quid pro quo in the sense of, hey, you're not getting something for free, but you're getting expert guidance to get you on that path. Like talk about the young man, talk about the young people who we're working with. But we're able to provide services to them that they need and to build a team. So we go back and see some of these building team episodes, check out these show sponsors, that they're going to help you. That they're in business. Their purpose of doing what they're doing is to help you. Is to help you get on this path.
I tell investors almost every time we talk on the phone that I have no interest in selling you a house and earning a little commission. That makes me, if you heard me earlier, I've sold 60 homes this year. I don't need a commission from you today to pay my bills at home. You know what I mean? Like I am way more interested in you buying the right house, because if you're going to buy 20 over 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I want those.
Now you're interested. Yeah.
Now I want those commissions. Now we start thinking about that. I'm like, hey, I'm building a business here. And that is the same way. I'm glad you brought this part up.
Good.
That is the same way that every one of our vendor partners feel and think.
Yes.
So everyone we work with on purpose, I don't have anybody that's a part of this because if they don't view it and see it this way, if the management company here at CrestCore manages well, that person has a confidence to buy more.
Yeah.
If Triumph Construction does a great job on the construction and they're more apt to buy more. If I'm sourcing good deals in good areas, you're gonna buy more. So it does take a different person to understand that. Sometimes agents don't understand that. It's a transaction, they get paid and they're done. Right. That's not how we run our program.
That's
and
right.
For all the vendor partners on there, that's not how we do it either.
And if that's appealing to you as a listener, then come on.
Yeah.
If you don't like that, then hey, there are other agents out there for you. There are other people out there who
you might know everything
that way.
Oh, you might know everything. And I mean, you could. And if you do, congratulations. And you might not need some of these things. And so keep moving. I can be a property source for you then.
That's right. Yeah.
If you don't need, you might be listening like, God, this is elementary. Like, cool. Like, why don't you holler at me and let's have a higher level conversation, because I have those as well. Like there's just way more new investors than there are savvy investors. So we cater this more towards a beginner and getting started. But if you're like, hey, this is elementary to me, well then let's get on the phone and let's talk about something that isn't elementary.
Let's talk about a 50 house package.
Let's talk about a 50 house
that
package
we would love to sell.
Yeah. So I mean, I have one of those for $12 million. If you want to talk about bigger opportunities, we can talk about that as well.
Yes.
Look at us flexing on here today.
Come on.
All right. So
I want to get that guy, help that guy get those sold.
Yes, I mean there's 48 houses we have that are in prime locations for $12 million. So if you want to get more seasoned in advance, we can do that as well. All right, number 2 on how to retire, or you can retire early. One of the easiest ways to do this, and we can breeze through this because I think most people know this, is house hacking.
Okay.
If you're a new investor and you think, man, I don't want to jump off the deep end of this, I just want to tiptoe in the shallow end. Well, let's go buy a triplex, okay, or let's go buy a duplex or a quad or whatever. You move into the property, rent out the other spaces, other units, and do what they call house hacking. This isn't a house hacking episode, so if you want to learn more about that, you can get into like just Google house hacking. There'll be a ton of stuff. So house hacking is a super easy way to get started. You might say, hey, I only have it down, I'm out of college. All right, let's go young. Hey, I'm out of college. I just got a job. I don't want to live in the, pay rent anymore. I'm ready to buy a home. Well, why don't you buy a duplex or a triplex and rent it to your two buddies and have them pay the mortgage on it and you live for free? This is going to teach you the market because you're going to be interested in pricing. It's going to teach you the rental market because you're going to have to figure out what to charge your buddies, right? It's going to teach you how to be a landlord too and a property manager all at the same time because you got to take care of all the stuff. You're going to figure everything out as you go.
You become an investor. I'll give two examples. One, conversation this week in dialoguing with someone who is a college student, who the landlord, they're moving into the house. The landlord wants to sell the house. Mm-hmm. Hey, what if I bought this house? My rent goes to the mortgage. My two roommates, their rent goes to the mortgage. Next year, we can live here and do that. Or I can move out and had other people moving in. So I'm like, yes.
100%.
Do that. 100%. If you're interested in it, 100% do it. We can help you make that happen.
I know people doing it.
Yes. I mean, and I'm like, that will get you all of that experience. And you're 21 years old. Like,
and you won't feel like it's a crash course because you're going to be learning as you go.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a 2-week course on how to be an investor and all of a sudden you're there. You would move in here and learn as you go.
It's going to be great.
What do you do when your buddy doesn't pay you? What do you do when the HVAC goes out? What do you do in this? You'll figure it out as you go. You can probably connect with a local agent or local somebody that's involved with it here. Shame on you if it isn't us, but we can help you get those partners and the people to help you with some of those
absolutely
maintenance calls and things like that.
My best valued home, single family home, highest valued home, is the first home I bought in Memphis.
And you still have it.
And I still have it. So that's another way to do it, right? It's like you buy a home, live there for a while, move out, and then rent that home as you move to your next home. And so that's been great.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac give you 10, 30-year fixed loans.
Individual. And that, if you split it up with the spouses,
20.
If spouses, you can have 19 or 20.
Didn't we know a guy that?
I knew a guy who did it and did it with their family, who did it with a brother, mother, and stepfather, and they had like 50 of them.
A lot of trust in those family members.
But the point being, you can do it with your own home if you're not renting, or even if you're a family.
Yeah.
By then moving on eventually and renting out that. So there's a lot of different ways to get started in this.
So today we're talking about how you can retire early. The number one thing we talked about is to start now. Number two, an easy way to get into this is house hacking. The third thing that I would say, if you're going to become an investor and you're getting into it, is become really, 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 really good at one thing. Really focus in on
focus. That's what I was thinking you were going to say.
And stay centered, and all your information and everything that you're thinking about, talking about from an investment standpoint, become a master at it. Whether it's single family, you choose to go that route, multifamily, a commercial, whatever it is, we tend to stick more to the single family conversation here, but become a master at it. You're a house hacker.
Yeah.
And you're good at it, right? Yeah. It worked. Now I'm on to my second one, let's say. Okay. So now I pretty much got house hacking down there, and a whole lot more you can learn about that. If you really want to branch out and you go and you start into single family, I think you have to become a master before you start other things. And before I turn it to you, I have seen investors crash and burn. I mean, implode after they were really good at one thing and then decided to go off. Not a master, they were good at it. But then this individual and others just started, hey,
now I can do this.
I can do this now. I can build, or I can develop, or I can
Airbnb, and I can long-term hold, and I can medium-term hold, and I can do a commercial, and I can do a multifamily.
And burn. Crash and burn.
Yeah.
Crash and burn. You can't be a master at 6 different things in real estate. I don't believe it. I'm sure we'll get comments wherever we're going telling me that you can. Yeah. But I don't believe that you can become a master at 6 different real estate avenues. It just takes too much time.
And not in a year, not in 5 years, not in 10 years. In a lifetime, maybe as you build systems and build up. But even then you look and people aren't. So it's like, what are you doing?
But once you look back, even if you did that, great point. Once you look back and say, man, I'm pretty good at this 3 or 4 things, you're not going to ever look back and go, man, I'm a flat out master at that. You know what I sell? Investment property.
That's right.
You know what I don't sell? Anything else. There's a reason behind that. I'm really good at this.
That's right.
I'm going to fall short of master, but I'm really good at this, right? I don't know how good of a commercial agent I would be.
Doesn't matter.
And it doesn't matter.
It's not what you're interested in.
I don't show $1 million homes in Germantown and Collierville. I refer it out. I won't do it. It just takes me away from what I'm doing. So staying focused on your one thing as you become a real estate investor, to me,
huge.
Make the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
As you scale and live, life's going to begin to interfere. So let's fast forward, right? So in our time lapse,
okay,
we house hacked. We got out of that after we did a couple of those, and now we focused on, we'll call it single family.
Yes.
We've bought 25 of those things. Now we're really, really good at doing that. Now you're 30, 35, 40, whatever your age is going to be at that time. Life's going to come and get involved. You're going to have family. If you're still focusing on the younger investor, you're going to develop, and form a family likely. I mean, not for everybody, but there's going to have life situations come in and get involved. The biggest thing that I can advise or suggest at that point is to stay focused and stay out of the riffraff. Your buddies want to go buy a condo down in Florida on the beach. They want you to participate. It's going to require some money. My suggestion is to stay out of that.
That's right.
Your buddies want to go downtown and together they want to buy something and you want to do this. I'm really suggesting to stay out of that, especially if you're an investor that's hacked and you own 20 plus properties. You don't need any partners. You're going to have a friend wants you to come in and invest into a chicken restaurant. Stay out of that. You're just going to have things. Your wife's going to want to go on extra trips and extra things or whatever there. Stay out of that. So I think it's just focusing. Again, we referenced this when we talked about you can focus on one thing and become good at it. This is maybe just kind of part 2 of that is, as life comes at you and as distractions come, you're going to need to stay focused.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've talked about this before. I give the 2 examples of, I've heard 2 things. One is that the Boy Scout who quit right before Eagle Scout regrets it his whole life.
Yeah.
His whole life. The other person who regrets it is a person who has rentals and sells them. Sells the bulk of them. Again, we're not talking about trading in and out. We're talking about somebody who was in the rental business, building wealth, life happened, and they turned the other way. And then they look up years later and said, man, if I still had my rentals, if I still was in real estate, if I didn't quit, I would be in a different place. One thing I like about real estate and why it helps with getting you towards retirement, and what we were talking about in staying focused, is there's a forced savings component. And that's the mortgage pay down. If you leverage these things and you have to pay that mortgage every month, you're building equity every month by paying that mortgage. Whereas life might happen to other situations.
Yeah.
You might have to do some of the things that you had talked about and spend that discretionary income, but you have to pay your mortgage or you lose your house. So there's that forced savings that the mortgage provides. And the more houses you have, the more forced savings there is. And that has been my saving grace. Personally, is the forced savings that multiple mortgages have had, not to mention the time over appreciation occurs. So you kind of get a double dip in that growth. But to me, what is not hyped as much is the forced savings part, because most people don't have the discipline to save.
Yeah.
And so if you're forced to do it by a mortgage payment, amen.
A lot of people ask me about my portfolio, and about half of everything I have is on a 15-year note. Okay. And you might say, like, why in the world would you?
You cinched the belt tight.
Well, because I earn a living in my regular job and I don't have to have this cash flow. And they say, well, what? Well, God, so you're working for free? Nope. If you look at the end of the year, how much I owe, it's significantly less
each year.
Then that is called net worth. Correct. I am increasing my net worth by that amount of just by paying the mortgages that I have to do anyway. So yes, are things tight because I do this? Yes. Do I put money in the portfolio every year myself? Yes, because I'm on an aggressive pay down for my own personal reasons, right?
Yes.
So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just as an aside of that, with your comment about net worth, and net worth comes from assets, right? And that's what you're tracking. You're tracking your assets and the equity you have in those assets.
Yep.
And that's where wealth comes from. And so I've polled people, and the people who have the greatest assets, equity, net worth are the ones who track it.
Yep.
So if we track it on a monthly basis, if you track it on a quarterly basis, or if you track it at a minimum annual basis, are the ones who grow their wealth and the ones who get to where they want to go because they know where they're trying to go and they're measuring it. But if you're not tracking your net worth, the assets minus your liabilities, which leaves your equity, if you're not tracking that on an annual basis at a minimum, you are missing out on what you should. You're missing the number one tool to building wealth is a personal financial statement. That to me, I believe it. I do it monthly, and it's made all the difference in my life. I send it to my kids. I do it for my kids every month. We look at and say, "Hey, how's your savings? How's your investment? How's your rental? How's this? Where's the equity that you're stewarding? The equity that you've built up? Where is it?"
That's huge.
So we track it. That's the number one tool for investors. For anybody who wants to build wealth, it is the number one tool. Is tracking your net worth or your personal financial.
If you don't take anything else out of the podcast, take that. That's fantastic. I do mine, if I'm being honest, for sure once, and typically I do it another time during the year.
Yeah, you have to.
I have to
when
do
you
it
borrow
because of the banks.
But if you're tracking it, but you know it because you just said, "I'm paying these things down. I'm looking," and
I pretty much know within 10 to 20,000 what I'm paying off.
That's right.
Every year. I mean, because I just know the statements and I see it.
It's like getting on a scale. Do you need to get on a scale 3 times a day? Probably not.
No. Once a day.
Once a day, maybe. Once a week for sure.
Yeah.
If you have goals, if you don't care, then man, if you don't, you're not listening to this podcast if you don't care and you don't want to retire. No. But if you want to build that financial freedom, you got to do that.
Because I mean, we're good looking,
or at least you're missing out on the number one tool. It's like I would.
So, I mean, but you're not watching this for us. All right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Last thing on you retire early. I understand that when you get into this, you can make a mistake. Just know that if you come into this and your first house is a mistake, it's not all lost. Yeah. I've met investors before. They came in and they did, something a little creative and it didn't go well and they flew the coop and they're out. So I just, last thing to touch on, just if you come in and you make a mistake, I don't care how big or small, it's recoverable. That's one thing I like about real estate is you can bounce back. There's usually no Mike Tyson punch outs in real estate. Right?
Yeah, that's good.
You might get knocked down a little bit, but there's usually no just lights out punches unless you're just super careless. But if you're following along a program of some kind, you're going to hit a hiccup and make a mistake. And as long as you just kind of keep going, you can recover that mistake. I thought I was going to make 40 grand on this flip. I only made 15, right? Yeah. Like there's ways that you can go and get some of that money back. So that would be my last thing on
that's good.
Can you retire early or you can retire early? It's just don't, if you make a mistake, keep plugging, just keep trying. I mean, it's just the main thing I love about real estate. It's so forgiving.
Very forgiving.
You just have to stay with it. The only way it isn't forgiving is if you quit. So
that's the regret. Don't, man. No, because you can do it. Man.
No, you certainly can. All right, guys. Thanks. Anything else to add?
Great, man. No, great show.
Right. Let me know how you want to retire early. Shoot me an email, dean@crestcore.com, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Thanks.